They burst into my home just as I was setting the wine glass down onto the cool granite counter. Uninvited, frantic, and bearing faces I hadn't seen in over a decade. My ex-wife led the intrusion, her parents flanking her like weary sentries, and then him. The man who was supposed to be dead. The man who had faked his own demise to steal her heart back. Their arrival was a storm without warning, but inside me there was no turbulence. Only a stillness, cold and deliberate. I watched as they staggered to a halt just past the threshold, their breath catching when their eyes swept over what they hadn't expected to find. The house was nothing like the cramped, half-furnished apartments of our past. Every surface glowed under soft, warm light, walnut floors stretching underfoot, a grand spiral staircase winding upward like a whispered invitation to a better life. Walls adorned with vivid oil paintings, each brushstroke telling a piece of a story they no longer had a place in. But it was the ebony piano in the corner that stopped them cold. A framed photograph sat atop it, a woman and a child, radiant and real. A wife who was not her, a daughter who carried none of their blood. A life built from ashes they had no right to sift through. My ex-wife opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came. Her eyes, once sharp and filled with the unshakable certainty of youth, were now clouded, worn thin by time and the weight of all the wrong choices. She looked smaller than I remembered, diminished by regret she couldn't voice. Too late for explanations. Too late for anything. I leaned casually against the counter, wine glass in hand, the silence wrapping around me like a custom-tailored coat. Inside I was calm, not numb, not seething, just finished. Finished with all of them. I thought back to the day she ended it, as easily as one might cancel a dinner reservation. "It's over," she'd said, her voice flat as concrete. "My ex is sick," she had added, as if it was an obligation I was meant to respect. "If you can't understand, stay alone." I remember the hotel suite we had reserved for our honeymoon, never cancelled, just left to collect dust like my unanswered calls and unread messages. Her parents, who once called me son, sent a curt note of their own. "We hope you'll understand." Understand what? That the man she claimed was dying was, in fact, lying. That her loyalty was just a mask she discarded the moment his hand reached for hers again. I said nothing. I didn't fight. I didn't beg. I just disappeared. Blocked them all the next morning. Packed my life into boxes, and left the city like a ghost fleeing a house fire. I still remember the first time I met her. A city-wide blackout had paralyzed everything, and yet there we were, two strangers lit only by candlelight at a stalled train station. She called it destiny. Called it luck. We built our lives from the ground up. Cheap takeout, cheap furniture, but dreams that brushed the stars. She'd lie beside me at night, tracing skylines on my skin with her fingertip, whispering, "Design us a home we'll grow old in." I believed her. But people change when their past comes knocking, and betrayal is often a slow leak, not a burst pipe. It started small. The phone she once left carelessly open now always locked. The laughter that once filled our home fading into silence. The way her gaze slipped away when she thought I wasn't looking. I didn't accuse. I observed. And one night from the bedroom I heard her on the balcony, her voice low and urgent. "I haven't told him yet." She thought I was asleep. She didn't know I was wide awake, in every sense. Later, an email sealed the truth. "Thank you for choosing me again. You always said I was your first love." And her reply, knife sharp. "It was always you. I just need to end this carefully." I gave her no scenes, no fights, no drama. I gave her silence, the deepest wound of all. I moved cities. Started over. Brick by brick, I rebuilt my life. My career, my home, my art. Every step a testament to the man she underestimated. Revenge. It isn't loud. Doesn't scream. Waits. Thrives. It grows roots so deep that by the time they notice, it's far too late to cut you down. I kept tabs on them. Not obsessively, just enough to satisfy curiosity. They married. They divorced within 3 miserable years. She limped back to her parents' house. His bar failed spectacularly, a financial disaster. Meanwhile, I climbed higher silently. Then last year, her past collided with my present. My face on a magazine cover. Architect redefines modern luxury. He found me then. And now here they were. Desperate. Plus, uninvited. I let the silence stretch until it was almost cruel, then finally spoke. You're a decade too late. What do you want? Her father fumbled for words, his bluster gone. We're not here to argue. We just. Her mother's gaze lingered on the photo, on the smiling faces that didn't include them, and her voice, brittle with defeat, said, You've moved on. I smiled slow and easy. No, I said. I've grown. The man beside her, her once savior, now little more than a shadow of the threat he once posed, looked around the room, searching for something familiar to belittle, some fragment of the man he thought he broke. He found nothing. There was nothing left for him to ruin. Finally she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought you'd be angry. I raised my glass in a quiet toast. That would mean you still mattered. They left after that, no goodbyes, no apologies, no attempts to mend what was beyond salvation, just the hollow sound of their steps fading down the long stone hallway. I closed the door softly behind them. From the top of the staircase, my wife appeared, our daughter nestled against her side. Everything all right? She asked, her voice gentle. Just shadows, I said. She smiled, disappearing into our daughter's room, her laughter soft and real, a sound more precious than anything I had ever lost. I stood alone in the entryway for a moment, letting the quiet settle once again, the house breathing easier without the weight of old ghosts. People think revenge is a spectacle, loud, explosive, a grand finale. It's not. Revenge is living so well, so completely, that your very existence is a reminder of everything they can never touch again. She left me for a lie. I gave her the truth. I never needed her. Closure isn't silence. It's the sound of their footsteps growing smaller and smaller, knowing they will never be welcome again.